Hey everybody, I'm back with a really short video on Kumihimo binding. I've had other videos up before that have showed you how one way to bind off a Kumihimo piece, a Kumihimo braid, but in working on another project, I discovered that there is a way that I like better. I had been working on a Kumihimo piece, not this one, but a different one with a wire core in the braid. And it was suggested on one of my Facebook groups that in order to keep that core in, that I sew around it. And what that translated to in my mind was that if I can sew around a core, then I can sew into the braid and anchor my thread and then wrap around and sew in again and anchor it, and this will keep it tighter than the method that I was using previously. I will link to the other video with the other method so you can see how I was doing it before, but I've done this a couple times now and I find that this method is much better. It makes for a tighter bind. It's easier to keep control of the thread, and I've been very pleased with the results. So it's very easy. It's all you're going to do is you're going to pick the point in your braid where you want to bind off, and we want to bind off pretty close to the where the beads are. So I'm going to start here and stick my needle through just anywhere on the braid, and it's a very tight braid, so it may take a little doing to get it through. And we're just going to pull our thread, but not all the way through. And then we're going to come back through let's see. We're going to come back through and we're going to create a loop. Which we want to go through. And then finish pulling, whoops, put it right off the camera, and then finish pulling to create a knot. Just like you would in a basic sewing project where you're trying to start something to sew a hole or to sew a rip or something like that, you would want to anchor your work and then start making your stitching. So what I'm going to do to make sure that it's extra secure is I'm going to go through my braid again. So now that I've got this anchored on, it's not going anywhere. I've got a knot. All I'm going to do is do exactly like I did in the other tutorial, which is I'm going to start wrapping. Do a nice tight wrap. to bind off the braid. And when I feel that I have either wrapped enough or that I want to secure things by tacking it down, then I can go ahead, pull my cord tight, pick up the other end with the needle, and come on the other side of this wrap. We started out over here, and now we're going to finish it over here. Go through the braid, just like we did before. And you want to go pretty close to the wrap. And you want to go through the loop that's creating. And then you just want to watch where your knot is. And pull tight. And then if you want, you can actually go through the braid and the wrap, or just the wrap, to create a couple more knots just to secure it. You could also choose to do a little more wrapping if you wanted. It's however you feel you want to set up the bind. So that way you feel it's most secure. And then when you've finished, you just trim off the ends like you do in the other, you trim off your binding cord, just like you did in the other version. And then you go ahead and you trim your braid. So that way you can put the, whatever cord end you're going to use on over the bind and the braid. But that is the sewing version of binding off a Kumihimo braid. And again, I have found this to be generally more secure, easier to work with the thread, to keep it tight and to keep it from coming undone. And would really recommend this this method to anybody that's learning Kumihimo over the other method of braid binding.